Hi guys, welcome to Multiverse. Today we're going to take a look at how to get access to the Earth 3 DLC. Basically, yesterday we had a brand new DLC that dropped live, the Earth 3 DLC, and something that always happens when there's a new DLC, people will ask, how do you gain access to the DLC? So I'm going to start from where we actually spawn in the Watchtower so that everyone knows how to gain access to it. So let's get started. Basically, the portal for the Earth 3 DLC is not very far. Or for the Earth 3 open world, I should say. It doesn't give you access to the whole DLC, it gives you access to the open world. It's right here. You cannot miss it. There's this big blobby thingy just above it. And then you can see it says Enter Earth 3 Gotham. This is to enter the open world part of the DLC. There's Again, just yesterday, I was reading to some people who didn't know how to access the Earth 3 DLC, and some people who did not even know that there was an open world component to the Earth 3 DLC. Oh, this one has a nice Ultraman cape. Oh, I'm green with envy now. So there's, again, as you can see, the portal over there is to gain access to the open world part of the DLC. We're going to go there in just a minute. But before we do that, we're going to go to the On Duty menu. There's various ways to gain access to the content right now. If you look into the event tab, like you can see my character is only combat rating 124. So if I try to access, you can see all the Earth 3 missions are identified with Earth 3. So we have Earth 3 the Visitor, Earth 3 Injustice System, and here there's way too many missions here. We have Earth 3 the Escape and Earth 3 the Panopticon. But they all require combat rating 207. So if we look at the Earth 3 the Visitor, combat rating is the minimum combat rating to access the mission is 207. The minimum the suggested combat rating is 213. So as soon as you reach 207, you can gain access to the mission. Here, the mission, it's very same thing. Minimum combat rating 207, suggested combat rating 213, and there's also a suggested dominance. The suggested dominance roughly is if you're a tank or a controller and you have some crowd control abilities that can work on NPCs, in order for those crowd control abilities to work, you need the minimum suggested dominance. So if you want to be able, if as a tank or a controller, you want to be able to crowd control enemies, you need the suggested dominance. If you don't have the suggested dominance, you can still enter the mission, but your crowd control is not going to work on the NPCs. And here, it's the very same thing for the 8-player missions. For the 8-player missions, there's a distinction. There is the regular version of the mission, and there is the elite version of the mission. If we look at the regular version, again, the combat rating 207 to the minimum combat rating 207, suggested combat rating 213, and the suggested dominance 5165. If we look at the elite version, it's the same minimum combat rating, it's the same suggested combat rating, but the suggested dominance is 5853. So in elite, you need more dominance if you want your crowd control to be able to affect enemy NPCs. I won't go into the details of that. Basically, just look at the numbers. If you don't meet the numbers, then don't be surprised if your crowd control doesn't quite work on enemies. Although even when you have the suggested combat rating, sometimes enemies will be resistant to crowd control, but that's another debate. So again, if we look at the escape, very same thing. 207 the minimum combat rating, 213 the suggested combat rating, and 5165 for the dominance. And the elite, same numbers, but 5853 for the dominance. But if you have a character that is level 10 or more, what you can do, you can still access those missions, but what you have to do, you have to access those missions through the event tab. So if we look at the event tab, you can see that the mission is relevant to to players level 10 or more. What will happen is that once you enter the mission, the game will level up your character up to 207 while you're in that mission. So when you're going to be in that mission, your combat rating will be raised to 207. It's going to do the same thing in the open world, so don't worry, we're going to take a look at that if it doesn't seem clear enough. So the same thing will be true with the Injustice, with the 4-player mission, with the 8-player mission. and both 8-player missions. And you can see also there's no suggested dominance for those, but I assume by default the game, when it's going to be raising your combat rating, I pretty much assume it's going to raise your combat rating to the minimum required. So let's go into the Earth 3 Gotham and see what it looks like. So again, as soon as you enter the Earth 3 Gotham, you can see my combat rating has been raised to 207. So as long as I stay in this map, even if as long as I stay in this map, my combat rating will be at 207. So as soon as you have a level 10 character, you can enter this map, and the game will raise your combat rating to 207. So if we look at our combat rating, at our stats, so you can see even though my actual combat rating is 125, in here my combat rating will be 207. And you can see it raises a whole bunch of stats in order to be able to have the minimum in order to be able to play this mission, to play the missions on this map. And you can see all the various NPCs that are giving that are quest givers. There's like 2 weekly quests if I'm not mistaken. There's a bounty also that's weekly, and there's a whole bunch of daily quests. So you should have a fair amount of missions to play in here. And also there's some exploration to do. There's some briefings to look for. There's some investigations to look for. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do in this map. And also there's this little guy who can sell you gear if you need to. So you can see the gear he is selling. The currency in this DLC is the Ultra Buck, and you can see the price for the various items in Ultra Buck. And there's also some items you can purchase with marks of victory, of course. I'm going to make a video specifically about the vendors, so I didn't stay too long on the vendor. So if you need more information about the vendors, I will make a video specifically about that, either later today or tomorrow. We're going to look at the same thing, but from the point of view of the evil villains. So let's go. Let's go see our friend the Batman. Ain't it nice to see 2 Batman from alternate realities together? Ah. So let's go to the evil villain side to show you how to gain access to the very same content as a villain. So if you're an evil villain, this is pretty much where you spawn when you enter the Hall of Doom, when you warp into the Hall of Doom. And lucky you, the entrance to the Earth 3 DLC is right underneath here. So that is the main distinction to gain access to Earth 3, is that in the Hall of Doom, the portal is right there. Again, it has that big yellow thingy above the portal to make sure that you can't miss it. And for the rest, for the on-duty stuff, it is the very same thing. If your character, like right now, my character is combat rating 166. So if I want to play the 2-player, the 4-player, or the 8-player missions, I have to go through the Events tab. And for the other versions of the mission, the minimum combat rating is 207. I don't have that just yet. But if I go through the Event tab, the game will raise my combat rating to 207, and I will be able to play those missions. Also, you'll notice my character is in the PvP open world. Basically, by default, I always play in the PvP open world. And the Earth 3 DLC, or the Earth 3 open world Gotham, is shared by players, by both villains and heroes. So villains and heroes will spawn at the same place, and they will obviously fight each other when they do. So let's give it a try just for fun. Last time when I went there, I had to fight 2 evil heroes, and I managed to defeat them. Until then, they respawned and came back with a 3rd hero, and then 3 versus 1, I was no match for them. So you can see with our evil dark side, we're spawning at the very same place as we did with our heroes before. So you can see the portal to go back to the Hall of Doom is right there. And you can see again the very same NPCs. And you can see the equipment supplier is right here for the villains. Not sure why it's not a... Oh no, there's actually 2 equipment supplier. Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, let's see if our other friend has something different. Nah, I didn't think so. So as you can see, you can pretty much see the very same NPCs. You can see the same vendors. Oh, maybe that's why the portal didn't work. Oh. So here you can see the portal that will bring us back to the Hall of Doom. So let's use that. So this was pretty much how you gain access to the Earth 3 DLC. You gain access to the missions from your on duty menu, and you gain access to the open world from the very portal that you see behind my character. But don't worry, there's always that whenever there's a new DLC, that question often comes back, how do we gain access to the new DLC? So now you guys know. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us in the comment section down below, and I try to do what I can to answer all the comments that are made in my comment section. But if for some reason you're asking a question that is way too complicated to answer into a single comment, I'll see what I can do about possibly making a video about the question you're asking. Like already, there's a few people who asked a handful of questions that I tried to answer with a quick comment, but in some cases I'm gonna have to make like a 5, 10, 15-minute video to be able to answer the question properly. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask so in the comment section down below, and I'll see what I can do about trying to answer your questions. So that's pretty much it for now, guys. So as always, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.